welcome to episode 11 of Moments with Mantsoe. Thank you so much for showing all our other episodes love and sharing them. I'm pretty sure we can download now. I saw someone in the comments saying the episodes are downloadable. We've tried to make it work, so I hope that you're enjoying it. Tell your friends, tell their friends to download, to subscribe, to share it far and wide so it can get out there. And on this episode, I've got Komani's finest. Komani's finest.
Yay.
Hey?
Apparently.
You got to listen to that. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. I mean, I've known you a couple of years.
Yeah.
But I don't really know, like, Yanga growing up. I've met you in the industry and
For sure.
moved in the
For
same
sure.
circles.
For sure.
But take me back to Yanga growing up in Queenstown. What kind of child were you? Because you're a huge fan of sports, but you're a very creative person in multiple fields.
Yeah.
What kind of child were you in the space that you grew up in?
How do I describe myself? I think I was, I had an older brother.
Yeah.
That was like a big part of my life. And we were like less than a year apart.
Yeah.
So, he's always just been, the example of what I should be. And I've kind of like lived most of it vicariously, I think, through him. So my personality was way more introverted than he is. So my parents are like, my dad was a huge extrovert. My mom was an introvert. My older brother's extrovert.
You're an introvert, yeah.
So yeah, but I was always into like creative things and art and things like that. And sport. Sport was very big in my family. My dad was a huge sports fan. And my brother was a huge sportsman, And I also have like a proper talent for sports.
Okay.
So I loved everything outside of the classroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of classroom, you went to the same school from grade 1 to until you finished.
Boys' school.
Like, I think people that are in one school from grade 1, because I went to so many schools.
Yeah.
But people that have been like in the same school from grade 1 to grade 12, you have the privilege of like the same kind of culture, you know the same kind of people, but also the teachers are very familiar with you. Tell me about going to Queen's College. Is very popular. I can tell you even us in Joburg knew about Queen's College.
For sure.
We've dabbled with some boys from
For sure. One of your greatest experiences.
The Jans.
Yeah.
But tell me about your time at school. What kind of student were you?
Geez, I think, funny you should say like the boys' school thing. I always wanted to go to like a mixed school. Always wanted to be in class with girls and
girlies,
just, just test my riz, But I never got that opportunity until varsity. But in high school, I think, the culture of growing up in a all-boys school, white school, I think it really helped shape like, my mentality and my discipline.
How?
The rules that are there are very old school, And at the time, as the world is evolving and changing, you want them to be more relaxed. You want them to be changed and whatever. But funny enough, when you get out of school, you realize the value that gives you, It's so easy for anybody to, I think, live life however they want, and do whatever they want. But in order to do that, it takes a lot of sacrifice and a lot of discipline, And we learned all of that in high school, We were treated like, numbers in school, And it's very like, it feels like so much pressure when you're there. But as soon as you get out of it, you miss having to do certain things.
And you don't know that, because I mean, when you're in high school, I remember our teachers always used to say, we still like really care about you and we have time to discipline you here, but you're gonna go to big school, which is university, where it's up to you what you do. And that's a shocker for a lot of people.
That freedom is scary.
Yeah.
It's scary because now you're in varsity and like you didn't do what you're supposed to do yesterday and nobody cares.
But no one's gonna chase you.
Yeah. And then it just reflects on your results. For me, I don't know. I don't think I really handled it well because I didn't even finish varsity. Like as soon as I got to Joburg, I was like, okay, that dream of mine.
You're like, this trip was for this. Yeah.
I'm chasing that. Like immediately when I got to Joburg, that was the plan. Like I just wanted to be on TV or behind TV or in the industry. I just literally qualified for varsity to get to Joburg.
Do you have teachers that remember that when you were in school that would say he was always going to go in the field that he's in now or anything parallel to what he's doing now? Like, was there a teacher growing up in any stage of your schooling career that was like, you have something that's that needs to be nurtured outside of here. Because when you're from a small town, there's only so much you can do, especially if you want to be an entertainer. You kind of have to leave and go to Joburg.
Yeah. I had a teacher, Miss McClay, and she was actually in the girls' school. So we used to do art, right? But we didn't have art in our school, so we'd have to cross the road and go to the girls' school. Probably another reason I did art, you know? But I was like really good in art. I remember I went to the same school and same class with Loyiso Mkhize, who's a great artist, phenomenal artist right now. And we used to like have this like versus type of battle in terms of like paintings and whatever and art school and stuff. So she was really helpful to me. Like I think she saw something in me with my painting hand that, you know, I probably could have, you know, used later on in life. But also the headmaster, Mr. Chris Harker, this is one of the greatest headmasters of Queen's College. I think one of the longest serving headmasters of Queen's College. I remember I had I'd changed schools and, you know, I went back to him, to his office the following year without applying, without filling in any application forms. And I told him, nah, bro, I want to come back, you know? And he sat me down with some other teachers and he's like, you remember Yanga, he played Nomsa. Okay, let me explain this.
Okay, so Nomsa?
Let me explain. So it's a boys' school, right?
Yeah.
So when we do plays, there's obviously female roles that need to be done.
Yes.
And then some guys, you know, they do the female role. So I did the female role because I was in grade 8. I was like a crazy actor from grade 1 to grade 7. Then you go to high school and you go to drama class and all the roles are taken by people that have been there throughout the years and that are known, whatever. And one of the lead roles, the last lead role that was remaining was the role of a girl, you know? So I think I kind of maybe like over-delivered. Because, like, you know, Mr. Harker, like, really remembered me for that role. You know, like, I nailed it a bit too much, you know. But it was dope, man. Yeah.
Do you have friends, you know, when you're in school, there's people that kind of know the dreams that we have. And I always say, in retrospect, we kind of know our purpose at a very young age. Yeah. And you talk about it in passing because you don't know that's what you're going to end up doing. Do you have friends that, you know, you guys would conversate and you're just like, oh my word, when you reflect now, you're like, I spoke about the life I'm living right now.
Sure. I don't know if I've ever spoken about it, to be honest, but when I look back at all the things that I did, I remember at a talent show and Usher was my favorite artist, you know? And I remember like forcing my friends to like rehearse this dance move for this talent show. I still remember the moves. So bad. And I can't believe I had the guts to do that because, you know, you're performing in front of the girls' school also, you know, blah, blah, blah. I don't know how I convinced anybody to do that, but it just reminds me, like, I've always felt like when I get on that stage, I'm somebody else. You know, it's not like me, you know? That's what's difficult about music, to be honest, because you get on that stage and you're like, you. And I kind of like, you know, something goes off in my head because the arts for me is like you get to become whoever you want, you know, on that stage.
I think as an introvert, that's the part that I always struggle with when it comes to artists. That one can be like very reserved in their own space, and when they get on stage, something else happens. How does that feel? Because I can't imagine it was easy. The first time you got on stage and you were just like, am I even doing the right thing? Did I make the right decision about going this direction? You were doing other things before you took on rap as a career.
For sure.
How was that experience for you as someone that's not naturally out there in personality and having to be on stage to wear this new persona to perform?
You know, my music journey is so crazy. Huge Squatter Camp fan. I've sang and rehearsed their albums in my room for so long. And by the time I actually got on stage the first time as myself as an artist, I'd already worked for Squatter Camp and AKA himself. Like I was his videographer for a while. So I'd already worked and kind of had an idea of how I wanted to be, etc. You know. But man, when I got on that stage, it was just different, man. It's just different. Like, you know, live jive people that are fans of your music, that just love you regardless of, just based on things you've said, and
And are singing back music that you wrote in your own space back to you.
It's a real mind thing, it's crazy, but it just shows you that, the music thing for me, that's why I always look at it as a calling, because you never know who you're touching with the music, whose life you're changing, or perspective, or who you're inspiring, and things like that, And I look back at how, for instance, Squatter Camp changed my life, for me to actually be on that stage all the way. I mean, the power of music is crazy,
Speaking of music as a calling, before music, you were directing. You mentioned, you were AKA's videographer. You were directing a couple of videos.
Yeah.
But before that, before you get to the calling of directing, of music,
sure,
let's talk before you drop out. You get to Joburg. Was it your first time in Johannesburg?
No.
Okay. You get to Joburg, you go to my alma mater. Shout out. You were just a year ahead of me.
For sure.
UJ, come on. But you get to Joburg, you're now at UJ. Tell me the exhilarating, because I imagine it was, energy and experience you had when you touched down and you realized, not only am I here to study, but I actually could change my life just by being here.
Yeah.
I have the opportunity to just move my life and my career in the direction that I want.
Yeah. I think going to UJ for me was the year that I realized that I'm actually a hustler.
Yeah.
Because I came to Joburg on a holiday because my older brother, like I said, a year older than me, so he had just started at DUT. And my mom was like, hey, dude, paying for both of you guys, it's not going to happen. It's not going to fly. So maybe just take a year off. Let me see what I can. And I'm like, all right, got you. I understand. But I need a 2-week holiday in Joburg first. And my friends are leaving on this date because they're registering on this date. So I need it from this date to this date. I just wanted to experience because I'd only seen like university from like Yizo and those like on TV, And I'm like, nah, I need to be there when they experience it the first time. So I stayed with my aunt in Vona Valley. Then one day I was like, okay, cool, it's registration day. Let me just go hang with the boys and watch the mission. Now we're chilling in the line. They're paying the registration fees. And I'm like, damn, such a long line that side. What's going on there? Like, no, that's NAFSA's. Oh, what's that? No, it's like a fund.
Oh, my word.
I'm like, oh, okay, what do you need? No, you need to be approved, like, to study. I'm like, at UJ. I'm like, yeah. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, well, I'm approved. I'm like, well, I'm coming back. I went to print all my papers. I stood in that line, got accepted. Called my mom, said, I'm inside.
That's crazy.
Inside. That's how my Joburg story started.
Do you know, I always talk about how when we talk about people not having access to going to university because there's certain things they don't know, things like NSFAS, that you think they should reach everyone. People should have that knowledge that whether the situation at home is favorable or not, you have the opportunity to go to school. It boggles my mind, and I think it's because I'm from Joburg, that there's certain information that doesn't get to certain people.
I swear to God, like, even in any industry, anywhere, in Joburg, all over the country, what kills Black people the most is the lack of knowledge. There's things that, you like, government isn't doing anything. When's the last time you filled out an application for anything, for a grant, for a bursary, for, that's where we lack knowledge. There's a school I went to after I dropped out. It's called Lysoff. Lysoff was on the way to work because I used to work for Slicker. So I got off taxis at Rosebank.
It was in Rosebank.
Then I'd walk to Parkhurst. On the way there, I keep passing the school, man. And it's like that dream I had of varsity, but it's smaller, and I'm like,
it's like the backstage.
And the girls are fly, like, yo, what's going on, So like, I think I picked it up towards the end of the year. And then the following year, I'm like, hey man, let me go in and check what's going on. Hey, I go in there, I'm welcomed with open arms by these white teachers. Oh, what are you? I'm like, no, I'm just passing by. Can I apply here and see? I'm just applying. I'm looking at the fees. I'm like, yo,
no ways.
But I'm applying and I write this test and I do like a drawing test and whatever. 2 days later, I'm at the office there. They call me, congratulations, you've been accepted to study at Lysoff, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, that's great. Yo, how much? Okay, you need to pay this much by what. I'm like, okay, cool. Something crazy like 50, 100,000, whatever. Put the phone down. That's a dream. I'm like, at least I know I would have made it.
Yes.
They call me again. I say, no, I'm coming. Down. They call me again.
You're not telling them that I don't have the money.
I'm not telling them a damn thing. Then I'm like, this is too much. I'm like, you know what, guys, thank you so much for the opportunity. But to be honest, I can't afford anything, etc., etc. Like, you know what, Yanga, just come in and let's talk about it. Let's see what options you have, blah, blah, blah. I come in, they give me a full bursary at Lysoff. So now I go back to the office
so wild.
and I'm like, guys, I've just been accepted at Lysoff. So, and they worked out my calendar and my work schedule.
So you don't have to quit your job.
For sure, to match school, you know. And that's how I got into Lysoff.
Where do you get this hustler spirit? Because I do believe it takes a certain kind of special person, right, to be able to leave your home that is so far, get to Johannesburg, get yourself into UJ, drop out, get yourself a job. In parallel to that, still get into another university or another higher education system and learn. Where do you get that pushing and making sure things happen for yourself, by yourself?
No, I can't really pinpoint it to like growing up or anything like that, you know. I heard so many no's when I was growing up. But...
And maybe that's why.
Maybe,
in retrospect, yeah.
But to be honest with you, it's like a blind, ignorant determination, right? I like to compare it to the concept of time. I don't have a concept of time in terms of just the things that I do and whatever, you know. If you look at my career, I always do something crazy around this time, which is fourth quarter. I think it has something to do with the weather or the mood or whatever, but I'm always more comfortable expressing myself around this time of the year. And so I move like that. Like if I wanna go into UJ, like I'm there and I'm alert and I'm aware. I get, you know, I feel like if you physically put yourself in a room, because you'll figure out what it takes to get it. And you'll do that. The same thing, when I started working with Slicker and Squatter Camp, I wasn't getting paid for that first year, bro. But I was going there. I wasn't going to school anymore. I was skipping class, but I was chasing this thing. I was chasing this feeling, and I was living it. Honestly, like my second year when I started working for Slicker, I never paid to get into a single club. And like, the year before that, I was such an outsider in varsity, you know? Like, because NAFSIS was paying my school fees, it didn't change the fact that my mom didn't have money to even give me to spend.
Because it's also you with know? Other young people.
Didn't change that fact, you know? And also, I got accepted into the res, but there was no space. The space was only for next year. So the first year was very difficult. I was squatting with friends, staying with uncles far. Like, it was very, like, topsy-turvy. But, you know, I weathered through that. You know, I weathered through that. And every day I just made sure that I'm going to do this thing that I know I'm really good at. That is so easy for me. That is so, like, it's my passion. I go to sleep thinking about it. I wake up thinking about it. And that's what made me stand out, I guess, even for Slicker to say, you know what, come through, come do your thing. And I never let anything stop me. No finances, no nothing. I've never let any of that stop me.
I was speaking to someone about how fearless I feel like I was very early on, like early 20s.
For sure.
And that's what it sounds like, right? When you feel like, what's the worst I'm going to get? It's a no.
Exactly.
And as you grow, you only have that fear coming forward, but you never had it when you were younger.
Yeah.
And you look back and you realize how many doors you've opened for yourself just by being in spaces, like you said, and just saying, hey, I would like to do this. And you see people say, okay, do it without any hesitation. But you talk about being an outsider, even though you can fight for other things that you want. How was that feeling of feeling like, you know, like varsity there's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
We have friends that drive, we don't drive. You have
sure.
friends that have this, that, and the other. You know, I lived in an apartment. I wasn't even at Raise.
Sure.
So you feel like you don't have even more. Because you're not at Raise where everyone is almost equal, or it looks like everyone's equal. Tell me about feeling like an outsider where you've only done so much and you can only get yourself through UJ and make sure that NSFAS pays for your fees, but other things can't be met.
Yeah.
How was that time for you?
In my head, I was inside.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie.
That's all that mattered.
No, physically, yes, I'm an outsider, you know. Wow. In my head, I'm there. Like, even the kids that were really, like, thriving. I Miss Cosmo.
Yeah.
They were, like, the cool kids from the north.
Because he was very cool.
Out there, you know, and, like, driving, and, like, the whole squad was, like, I was spying on them, like, that's exactly where I gotta be. And in that year, I managed to get into Slick's head. I got into Slick's head. I got into his office. By the end of that year, Bonang, Miss Cosmo, everyone, I knew them personally. They were my friends. We'd hang out in private parties and places, whatever. I manifested myself into that life.
Sure.
I manifested myself into that life. I've always done that. I look at the brightest stars in the room, bro. Any room I'm in, I'm like, yo, that's inspiring. I want to add to that. What can I bring? You know? And I come up with crazy ideas and things that actually work. You know, it feels right. It just always feels correct, you know? Yeah, that was just me. Like,
Tell me about the other stars that you meet there. Now, UJ has happened, Lights Off has happened.
For sure.
You've now been in the spaces, the squatter camp, but then you go on to work with other artists. You become the videographer for AKA, but you work with other artists. In what capacity and how was that experience? Because now, these are people that are on their own rise.
For sure.
This is like 10 years ago.
For sure.
They're on their own rise, just over 10 years ago. They're on their own rise, but you coming in and you're like, I'm going to be a part of this thing in some way, in some capacity. How was that experience?
And the key word is that I wanted to be a part of it. I never looked at them and thought, I'm going to be better than you. I'm going to out-rap you.
I want to be a part of this.
Or whatever. I wanted to be a part of what they're doing. I wanted, because at the time, you must remember that hip-hop wasn't like that main big genre yet, you know? It was still like up against Kwaito and hip-hop and house music. You know, everywhere you go, hip-hop, blah, 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 blah. So I was on that team. Like, I am going to make sure that we make this thing bigger, more exciting, brighter than any genre.
And you found people that are your tribe. They like what you like, yeah.
Like, Bar, what do you need? Okay, you want to shoot? You know what? I have an idea. Let's shoot this. Let's put this out. Let's do this. I remember I did a reality show. Like, I was just a website administrator for Slicker.
Yeah.
And I started doing videos on the website, like, because I wanted the website to actually be like more than just reading, you know? Then, like, started doing videos, and I came up with this concept of rapper's reality, right? Rapper's reality, like, you spend a day with your rapper. Because I was like, I'm spending so much of my time with all these rappers and nobody's seeing it. You know, people, even in Queenstown, like, they know me because I was in one of Slick's videos. Just a music video, you know?
And you're like, they see this back home.
You know? But, like, I wanted them to see and experience the things that I'm experiencing on a daily basis. I remember one of the episodes for Rapper's Reality, one of the big ones was the Go Away music video shoot. And on set, on that Go Away music video shoot, we're interviewing Choop Choop. He's out there in the Bentley with the cornrows. You know, this is, you know, before everything, you know? And the documentation, that's where I started to fall in love with the storytelling behind the lens and the documentation of, like, history. I was even in the room when Lee Kasumba had her last YFM show after spilling a drink.
On the desk.
It was, let me tell you something, that last show was all the rappers I knew and more. Like,
oh my God.
We couldn't even fit into that studio and everyone just pouring love. She was crying. It was so crazy. Funny enough, no one really knew who I was, bro. No one even knew I was there, whatever. But, like, I was really, like, watching this culture grow.
Yes.
You know, like, and that's why I'm, like, so grateful to Slicker, because he had this vision of, like, you know, this thing can be bigger, this thing can be bigger, this thing can be bigger. And that's why I think it took me so long also to even start rapping, because I just fell in love with documenting the process. That's how I started working with Questa. That's how I started working with AKA Kulichana. Kulichana took me to Kenya. We shot his album cover on the top of the ICC, like, you know. And there's people I've met along the way that dream like me, that think like me, that are even more confident, that are even less fearless. Like Don Design. How I started working with AKA. Don Design comes to me, is like, yo, man, Yanga Chief, I know, shoot these videos, and I'm like, but I'm not doing it right now. I just resigned from Slicker, so I'm trying to see production-wise what I'm going to do. I had no idea what I was going to do next. And he's like, okay, cool. Listen, man, I've been chilling with AKA, man. He wants you to shoot the video, man. What video? It's like, no, he saw your video you shot for Questa, and he wants you to show it. Listen, I'm going to tell Kenan that I'm your producer. And then when you direct, what do you need? I'm like, no, but I need a producer. No, forget a producer. What do you need? Like, okay, I draw
equipment.
I think we're shooting Control. So I draw the whole entire storyboard, whatever, treatment, whatever. I send it to him, sends it to Kenan. Kenan's like, yo, perfect, let's do it. He comes back, says, bah, what do you want me to get? So I'm gonna need a car, gonna need a house, gonna need this, gonna need that, gonna need that. That's how Don became a producer. He just goes, he finds everything I need. Shoot, bah. Sharp, is it done? Okay, cool, sharp, we're done. Gone, next one. And no, everybody else was like, no, I need to find a producer. I need to learn production. No, Don doesn't move like that. Don makes things happen. What do you need?
It sounds like it's like finding yourself in the right spaces and taking the opportunity.
For sure.
Like just being in the right ears.
For sure.
And saying, I can bet on myself to do this.
For sure. And that whole entire come up with film is what actually helped me with my music career. I was in a place I didn't belong. I didn't rap like these niggas. I hadn't done anything they've done before. But listen, this song bangs, you know? And
I think also when we got introduced to you, the rap hadn't, when I met you at least, the rap hadn't taken off. But you were like this kid that all the rappers were crazy about because they felt like, everyone just felt like you're just overly creative.
Sure.
Like there's this kid that's just like, I heard about you from Questa who was like, yo, out, you know?
Sure.
And then we see on Ranchosi, which not validates, but like confirms everything that personally I had heard.
Yeah.
Because here's this hook that is with this very different voice and this dope video.
For sure.
And you are inside all of that as a new kid now as a rapper.
Yeah.
When you've done so much creative work in the background. But now you were two people that you've looked up to on the same song.
For sure.
Tell me about working on the song. You working with the two greats.
Ranchos. So Ranchosi was a spin-off of my videography and directing for Keenan. So, you know, Keenan would set up his studio in his house, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, I chip in my ideas, you know, chip in, you know. Then I started playing my own music, you know. And he was like, hell no. And, like, he's got such a good ear for something special and something different. Because even that Ranchosi hook, like, he dragged it out of me. I literally wrote like 32 bars on that beat. And he just took that part and said, this is the gold.
Perfect, yeah.
And it is because I was just literally telling my story of how like Joburg has literally like, woo, has done a number on your boy. You know?
Yes.
But it felt like a survival story. Like, you know what? I faced this Joburg beast, this monster, and I'm still standing, you know? And that's how it happened. And you know, I would also just help him in his verses and stuff like that or whatever. Just like different perspective, like different idea. I think it was easy also for the rappers because I wasn't really like rapping like that. So I'm not competition.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I'm actually an asset.
Yes.
Like, yo, what you got?
You came in with, this is what I'm going to do for you, but I can also do this. But let's focus on this, but I can do this.
Yeah, for sure, you know? And yeah, I think that's, you know, that's how I slid in. Into the game. And, you know, I've always just been for me, like, I don't even like to call myself like a rapper or musician or videographer or director or whatever. I'm an all-round creative. Like, the meetings I have just today, after this, I'm rapping my ass off in a shoot just now. Later, after that, I'm in a meeting with like big funding people for a movie, you know? And then after that, I'm directing a meeting to direct a podcast. Like, I can't put these hats and say, okay, I'm putting this on, putting this on. I'm just
the
moving.
Creative, yeah.
I'm just moving. If I like it and I think I can do it, I'm gonna do it. Period.
And I could tell that because I remember a couple of years ago when Questa dropped Takatu, we were all rolling and we picked you up. Hey, a person has lived you. We picked you up and the album hadn't dropped actually. He had just recorded it and he wanted your opinion.
Yeah.
We were driving and he was playing Tokatsu. We were driving around Joburg. I don't even remember where we were going. But we were listening to this album with Ngud, with all these amazing songs, this classic album that turns out to just be like one of the greatest albums in South Africa. How validating is that for you to have your colleagues, but also people that you found in the game doing this, wanting to know your opinion about the work that they're doing?
It's rewarding, man.
Yeah.
It's rewarding. I think I also value their opinion in things that I do. Like I use them a lot for just like, you know, to map out things, you know, and they're very inspirational to me. I'm a fan of all of my friends. Big fan. I remember Questa was going through a rough patch also in the music. But his only problem was that he wasn't releasing enough. And he hadn't picked that up. And I said to him, you know, I know you're the greatest rapper. You're the best. You're the best. You're the best. But now when I'm arguing with other people here about these other artists that they think are better, They've got so many songs to prove it. And when you don't have the music, you know, and I think from there he switched and just started taking out music, you know.
Yeah.
Which is something funny enough, it's so crazy because I don't drop nearly enough music either, you know. But it's you know, it's everything I think is teamwork. I can't really stand and say, you know, I want to do this and whatever. That's why even in my career, I've found like young people that I've worked with that have become something of their own, you know, whether it's in photography, music or whatever. I'm always so able to just open it up for the next person, especially I don't really look at talent when I look at like someone that I actually want to work with or bring up or give an opportunity. Talent 50%, but the person is the most important thing. I'll tell you, I think one thing that endeared me to a lot of the rooms and a lot of people that I came across that had a choice or a chance to give me an opportunity or not, probably gave me that opportunity is because of how I was raised. You know, the respect that I have. And it filters down to like the kind of home that I grew up in, like a family with love, parents, strict, other one kind, you know, siblings, you know, and I think that it counts. That's why I feel for people that haven't had that experience because they need to channel something else and look elsewhere for an example of who they want to be, and they don't have it at home. And I think it sticks with you. I've had it throughout friendships, throughout relationships where that thing counts, you know? Yeah.
Yo, that's so deep. I actually really
For
expect
sure,
that. Yeah,
for
it
sure.
really is.
Yeah.
And a lot of doors really do open because people remember the person that you are, hardly ever the talent, to be honest. So you've released a lot of songs, right? But I think the one song that will always be a favorite, I think I've told you this many times, lit or not, this Dreamwork.
For sure.
That's my jam. But I definitely jam that song literally at least once a week. Like I always listen to it.
Nice.
I don't know, man. What happened? How did that song? You see, that song for me is like a 10 out of 10 in terms of collaboration. And I love the video, the story, the hook, the verses, everything about it is like, this is what a song should be. How did that song come about? And what does it mean to you? Because I do believe that it's a song that a lot of us are just like...
Keenan gave me that beat.
Yeah.
Wanted it just like, yeah, man, here's a beat. I got it from this American producer. Like, do your thing on it, dog. You know, I'll probably give it to you, whatever. I did my thing on it and he's like, okay, hold on. Let me, you know, and that's what I loved about Keenan. Like, he would take like an idea of mine, very rough and whatever. He would just chisel it like into detail, just like in the recording. And then he would take it like a precious egg and he'd shoot the video and he'd plan the rollout. You remember like we had that like TV game type rollout. Like that guy was like on, you know? And so I recorded and then he also laced his verse and I think my verse obviously like inspired his energy and his angle for the whole song. And when I heard the hook, I was like, yeah. We're gone, bro.
Yo.
And it's so funny when the hit is about to come out, like you kind of like adjust yourself in life, like, you know? Like,
I always wonder if people know that we have a hit. Do you know when you have a hit?
For sure. Let me tell you, there's some songs where you're like, and also what I like is that now I've learned that, you know, sometimes you can have a dope song and think it's going to be a hit and it's not. And that's because like you didn't plan everything else around it. You didn't introduce it. You didn't roll the red carpet for it and bring it in and introduce it to the family like a hit. You just, gonna get back to how. So now it doesn't connect. It connects there. It doesn't connect here. It doesn't connect. You need to announce your song.
That's
you know?
one thing I've always felt like Keenan got right. But you got to work really closely with him, right? He took every drop like the most important moment of his career. What are some of the moments that... or some of the things that you learned from him as closely as you worked with him that you felt like, had I not been in the spaces where I got the opportunity to work with this person, I probably would have not known this or it would have taken long to get to this lesson?
Yo, there is so many. I'll just start with Keenan as a human being.
Yeah.
First of all, his memory is crazy.
Yeah.
Number one. Yeah. Keenan never forgets anything, whether it's work, relationship, family, whatever happened. And, you know, I have this thing, like something happens to me, whatever, and maybe it's a little bit traumatic. After a while, I've suppressed it, it's forgotten. Nigga never forgets. Bah. moves accordingly. But I think most importantly, what I really learned from Keenan, like he's like Mandela. You know, even if you don't know him personally or he doesn't know you, whatever, if you guys are in the same room, he will give you your 5 minutes. He will have his conversation with you, whether it's a joke, whatever, and he'll remember you. When I did Control with Keenan, he remembered me. I never used to introduce myself when I was a videographer working for Slick to all of these superstar people. I just out because I didn't want people to be like, "How so you rapper," you know. So I was like, I'll introduce myself and tell them about this story when they know me as a rapper, and I'm like, remember that kid that was me. You know, that was my angle. And the same thing with Keenan. I did one interview with him for the website. And every single time after that, Keenan would literally run across the room and greet me. And I'm like, ish. I felt bad because I didn't even prepare for that interview. Like, I should have. But he was like, he remembered me all the time. He was so cool with me. Even when he found out that I was shooting, it was like we'd known each other for a while. And I think that is such a crucial, important thing. It's like Mandela, when he walked into a room, he'd ask you where you're from, who is your family, whatever, you know. And that was how Keenan moved in every room.
You know when you mentioned that when you're in certain rooms, you just keep to yourself and just be the videographer because you don't want to step on toes. Have you ever felt like maybe that's not even just your reserved or respectful nature, but maybe sometimes you hold back because of fear?
For sure.
Because if you own that you're a rapper and a videographer that early on, then you have to deliver because you're in a room with rappers.
For sure.
Was there an element of fear of, am I ready? Is this really what I am?
I didn't think that maybe it wasn't what I was, right? I always knew that, you know, 80% of these people, you know, I can't rap better than me. But I think the fear is just if you remove all those people in that room, there'd still be fear. The fear is the people that aren't in that room, everybody else, the masses. That's the actual fear that I think had probably slowed me down in the things that I could have pursued earlier. Because fear is like you convince yourself that, they're not gonna like it. I knew all these rappers would like my stuff. I knew it. So I wasn't scared of these guys. But the fans, I just...
Really?
you know, like, because it's like at the end of the day, they don't know what it takes to make these songs. You know? They don't know this cadence that you're using, whatever.
Because your thing was very new as well.
For sure.
What is this person doing?
You know? And I feared, like, you know, coming with this Xhosa rap thing that, you know, and Ifani had made so huge, and that Manskap and Spaza rap was killing it in Cape Town, and like, who am I compared to those guys, and how will those guys receive the fact that I'm just a Joburg rapper who raps in Xhosa, you know? I've never subscribed to like those movements, like, okay, Spaza or what, you know? I've always just been a fan of like South African hip hop, you know, Squatter Camp, you know, the whole South African hip hop story, that's the story that I know. And so the fear was that, like, you know, is it authentic, bro? You know? It's only later on when I realized that it's authentic to me. It's my story.
It's your story.
The reason I rap like this is because of my history and my past, bro. And let me tell you something crazy enough. Like, even in rap, most people rap about coming from nothing, in the hood, blah, 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 blah. I can't really rap about that, you know. I stayed in the north, back home, you know. I live in the north right now. Like, I gravitate towards finer things in life and whatever, you know. I'm not alone. There's a market for that too. There's a lot of Xhosa people that work in corporate boardrooms that like, bro.
It's not like Xhosa people are rapping for these people only.
The minute I realized that, I was just like, I'm done like talking about how hard things are. You know, I'm gonna talk about the things I like. Period. And then people started actually gravitating. Hey man, this guy's dope. Hey man, I like this guy, whatever. You know, I make music for people who drive nice cars.
Come on. Do you feel pressure at home? Do people in Komani, like when you go home, they're like, Yanga, Oh, please give us forms to go to you, Jane.
I know the Queenstown thing is so weird, guys. I like, to be honest with you, I've been in Joburg since 2005.
Yeah.
What is it now? That's like 13 years,
Yeah.
maybe, something like that. And when I go back to Queenstown now, I don't know anybody.
Really? So you just go and then
yeah, all my friends, like the fact that moved out of Queenstown, the families and whatever. Like there's those guys that I've like met now over the years.
Yeah.
But in terms of people that I like grew up with in Queenstown, I hardly see any of them there. And it's a lot of like young people now. So going to Queenstown is like going anywhere. We're like, oh shit, Yanga Chief, you know, it's just exactly the same. It's not even like, oh yo, welcome back home, my nigga, whatever, you know.
I think, you know, like there's people that wear where they from on their person, right? Like Pro was always going on about Soweto.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel the pressure to like maybe like not even people from home, but personally to be like, there's a big position I have or responsibility I have to kind of put Queenstown on the map? Because I'm asking that because I know that you've always, as a documenter, you've always wanted to capture Queenstown.
Yeah.
I know that you're a part of a film right now that was shot about the
For
culture
sure.
of rugby
Shout out.
in Queenstown.
I did a cameo.
So I know that, yes. So I know that you're big on documenting where you're from.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt the pressure because you want to do that to kind of wear Queenstown on your person?
I think so. I think there's been times where I've wanted to, you know, like for the first time when I won my first award, I won an SA Hip Hop Award. I threw my first ever party was in Queenstown, you know? So like from a Queenstown perspective, I always believe in those things, like, you know, the coming home element of it. But I do believe that there's so many other much more talented, successful people that have come from Queenstown that, you know, would probably have more to say about what the town itself is and what it represents.
Let's talk about that, because I know you were shooting a film recently at your alma mater, but also you had a cameo, which I think is so dope, to your hometown, to your school.
It's so crazy.
On a film that celebrates rugby culture in Queenstown, and we know that the Eastern Cape loves rugby.
Yeah.
Second to boxing, or maybe even parallel to each other.
For sure.
How important was it for you to even say yes to a film like that? And then we'll come to the importance of you wanting to document Queenstown. Tell me about that film, saying yes to it.
So I got called by Thomas.
Yeah.
Thomas Gumede. And he was with Matli and boys. And they like, yo, it's like a late at night, I'm driving home. And like, yo, Yanga, we know we're talking about this movie. We need this character. And the guys are suggesting you. And I'm like, hey, I got your number. Let me hit you up. I'm like, bro, say it. This is before I even knew it was in Queenstown or whatever. Yeah, they're like, it's a rugby movie, whatever. And then a month, 2 months go by and I get a call and like, yo, you free this weekend? Matley and Thomas must call you. Like, okay, where are we shooting? Oh, we're shooting in Queenstown. Oh, okay, where? Queen's College. Hey, bro.
Queen's College, come on.
Book the flights, you know? And it's so dope because it was the last game of the season. I love going to Queenstown if there's a rugby game on. Then I get to like actually compare notes from like how I remember it, how it is now, how the kids are, you know? And I'm always like watching Queen's College, I'm not gonna lie, with the whole Guijo thing, you know? And I've also incorporated the Guijo into my music, you know? So like to be there and see these kids, how they, you know, they're so organized and they're so passionate about song, you know? I have an actual special kind of relationship with the singing in Queens because I actually started drums, you know, when they play drums in the high schools and whatever. I'm gonna say this as a fact, you need to write it down, but
write it down, guys.
I was the first person in the country to play drums at any school on a Saturday. And I'll tell you how it happened. So I actually didn't play drums, I played the trumpet, but to bring the band there. So there's a friend of mine. So we did, I was in the brass band. Yeah. Played trumpet. And so we did this thing in reunion called Trooping the Color, where we're marching. That morning, we have a sing-song for the weekend, obviously. And it goes bad. Niggas are singing bad. You're not doing it at all. So like they punish us and like, yo, you guys are gonna have another sing-song after Trooping the Color. Still be Trooping the Colors, rehearsal, sharp. When we go back to sing song, I mean, the drums are there. Yes. You know, so I start playing.
What?
I said drums, and on the way we're playing. When we get to now the grandstand and we're singing, I said, come on, guitars, go, go. It went so well.
And wild.
On this thing, it's done so well, so wild that we're like, no, we gotta tell Mr. Haka. We're bringing these drums on Saturday. Guess what happened Saturday? We're sitting there upset. Now that school is singing. We sing. Second half. Mr. Haka said second half only. Second half. Go. That school goes. Go. Yo, beep. Let me tell you, it lasted maybe, I think the next week we took the drums to Sterling. Next week, by the time we got to Selborne, Mama Hudson and them, they had drums too.
That is so sick.
And every school after that had drums after that.
And now we see it everywhere.
So yeah, it was me and my boy British. R.I.P. British. Passed on. Yeah.
Wow. R.I.P. British.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys started a thing.
Yeah, for sure.
How did it feel going back and seeing your school from a different lens now, right? You're there working, you're shooting a film, but it's about the same thing that you were passionate about when you were in school, and that's sports.
Yeah.
But you're seeing the same. Was Mr. Haka still? Is it Haka?
No, he's not there anymore. Okay.
But how did it feel being in the space again?
It felt great, man. And I also just looked at it from like the lens of how I was when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Like there was a guy called Simpiwe Sobopa, I think, who was like a cartoonist. And he started putting cartoons in like the newspapers, you know, like big newspapers. And so to us, he was like a celebrity, you know? So I can't imagine what it feels like for those kids, because not only was it me there, but it was Achiva Daimani, who plays for Western Province right now. It was also the whole cast of Gqeberha. You know, they're also in the movie. And to be able to look and touch and, you know, that thing, I'm like, these kids are going to become something crazy.
And the importance of seeing people that are from where you're from, that have made it out but became very successful.
100%. So I think I was in Thomas and Matli's ears the whole time, because Matli went to Queen's College also. So like, I'm like, dog, it's always been a dream of mine, but you guys have actually done it. And the way they shot it, man, I don't even want to get into it. Crazy. They shot it like, so there's a rugby player, right, who goes to Queens, and that's the scene. This guy, when the first team is running in, he is running in there too. I'm like, crazy. When there's a scrum, he's there standing in scrum. He's standing, they have a fake coach. He's sitting on the bench. He's talking to the fake coach about to come on. And I'm like, boys, no. Brilliant, because some things you can't like recreate, you know? Yeah. And the way that they executed it was so great, man. And there's that small child that does that chant, and they captured him as well so nicely.
But
the whole culture,
the essence of the culture,
of Queens right now. Amakuicho, everything, man. Like, my heart was racing, man. Like, I'm so proud of even just the teachers for having the foresight and allowing that. I think back in the day, they were way more strict. It would have taken a lot more to even attempt something like that. But apparently they've been shooting there for a while, the week and whatever. And like that cooperation and that teamwork, beautiful.
Tell me about the importance of documenting our stories, right? And whether it's through song or through, film or writing. Because I think one of the things that we forget is that South Africa is very big. We don't know each other's cultures.
For sure.
And that's why it's important to document certain things so we can... I don't have an idea of the culture of rugby because I grew up in Soweto.
For sure.
Parrots and Chiefs.
For sure.
But I celebrate. I skip some levels. Soweto. But it's not to say it's not big in other parts of the country. Talk to me about the importance of capturing, even in different, outside of other races, but as a people, capturing all the things that our small towns or villages or amalogishwetu do, so that it can be shared stories and shared experiences.
Look, I learned rugby at how to play it. I learned it, obviously, grade 1 at Queen's, whatever. But I had a friend called Thando Matu who also played rugby very well. And his dad just had another perspective. He's like an all-black supporter. Another perspective on the rugby games. That's how I learned how to understand the game. That's how I became a passionate fan. And I'd say this in the Eastern Cape, like every game, like you have people, old people, black, that are
Mm.
there just to watch the game and have an opinion, whatever. It's cultural.
Mm.
You know, it's like the cultural sport. You know, soccer is not really, you know, but rugby is crazy out there. And I think, you know, sport in general, look, black people, we don't write our things down. We document our culture and our history through
the word, just telling each other
about it. And music. And we leave it there in the music. If we don't know you personally, you'll find it in the music, you know? But that's why it's so important to, even like, you know, language. Like I'll tell you, when you go to the mountains, it's almost like you're speaking a different language. But that's because in those things and in those things that are said up there, there's so much history in it, you know, so much culture and the things that, and that's how they pass it down from generation to generation. Even though like the world is evolving and becoming more modern and whatever, but it's certain cultural practices like that that allow, you know, your essence and your history to stay with you, you know. I like clan names. Because even though I'm Fagunyawo, Zambondo, Namoshe, Tatlakandaye, and Shlamabenda Mantsoe, I like to add Uyanga at the end. Because those are people. You know? And I just like in my head, like, you know, just add Tatako. You know. You know, but that's how I want to live my life. I want to be remembered, you know.
How do you want to be remembered?
Yeah, I should have come prepared for this question.
You led me to it.
I just want to be remembered as someone who never gave up on themselves and always gave opportunities to people coming after him. And I think it's a very vague thing to say, but and there's a lot of us that think or say that, but I actually want it to be real. Like I actually want to be remembered by the people that I helped. You know, I'm not the type of person who will do something for you and hold it over you. Chances are I won't even remember it. I get reminded who I am by the people I've helped. They come to me and say, yo, I remember, been telling Ban. And I'm like, oh, shit, yeah, we did do that, didn't we? That was a crazy time. Because when I was doing it, I was just trying to make whatever we were making happen, you know? And it's them that come and say, yo, this guy.
And I guess it's because when you do something for someone, it holds sentimental value to them, so they don't forget it.
100%.
It's not because it's not sentimental to you. Yeah. It's because you just needed to do what needed to be done at that time and you kept it moving.
So I feel like the more people I can help, the more I will be remembered for helping, you know, and the more people will be helped by those that I help. Like it's a ripple effect. You know, I was helped too a lot, you know? So yeah, that's what I want.
This city that's become your home now that you love so much.
For sure.
That has embraced you. Has it always embraced you? How does Joburg been to you?
It's been kind for the most part. I've made family through friends. There's a lot of people I met in varsity that I'm still friends with right now, or family and whatever. And my varsity wasn't great, like, you know? And it took them and their family members. You know, there was a friend of mine, like I was staying in a commune at the time. I was still working for Slick and stuff. But God bless my landlord, because Lord knows, like, put that man through so much. And I remember the one time she could see, hey, this man is having it hard, you know, and no family in Joburg and all of that story, whatever. And she came to me and she told me, listen, I'm your mom right now. Like, from now on, I'm your mother, you know? So I'd go home, like, if he's going home, I'd go home with him and stuff like that, you know? And our relationship right now, me and him, is so crazy. Like, we've got so many businesses that we're doing together.
Wow.
And there was a time when I was, like, booming. And I'm like, bro, where are you now? I had to move back home. I'd go scoop him, you know, just to, like, you know, energize his thought process. And, you know, like, we've just been giving and taking so much. So there's those relationships, like, in Joburg for me that, you know, have made me a man, you know, that have matured me, that have, you know, shaped how I move, you know. And I love Joburg because it's so fast. Yeah, well, love Joburg because It's never
Tiny
over.
fast life.
It's never over.
It really is never
It's
over.
never over.
Yeah.
You know? But I do think that at the end, I'm probably gonna do a Cape Town finish.
Yeah.
You know? I also like Cape Town because it was cartel and that. You know, but, yeah.
Did you have moments in your career, and I asked this because I know that it's not always been rosy as well. Did you have moments where you felt like, could this be the moment? Do I feel like like it's over? I must just let it go.
Yeah. It's so crazy because those are the moments where God really shows up. I remember I was talking to my cousin. I'm so tired. I tried this. I tried that. And she said, "Hey, God says He wants you to stop hustling. Like, stop hustling. You know, like right, bash up. You know these things."
Also, people don't tell people enough about how tiring hustling is.
Yeah, just stop.
Fending for yourself is a lot.
Just stop, bro. You've tried everything. Everything's in place.
Yeah.
Just relax. Just relax. You know, it reminds me of my dad because my dad, like, we'd go somewhere and he'd never tell us where we're going, you know. But he wanted you to just trust that wherever we're going, it's what's best for you, you know. So that's the type of situation. That's my relationship with God right now. Also, like, I just trust, you know. This phase, I haven't been on any interviews or whatever in a long time because I've just been doing film, whatever, you blah, blah, blah. But now this phase, I'm like, I actually want to come out. See what's going on. Hey, Mantsoe, what's happening? You know, holla at your boy, you know.
Come on.
Hey, what's happening? You know, because to be honest, like, there's so many people out there that are wondering, like, you know, Yanga is my favorite, but there's no, like, conversations, you know, like, so I'm...
Do you know, I wanted to ask that? And I think a lot of the times it's very tricky to ask someone that you also know outside of their career, like someone that you feel like I know you personally, to ask them, do you think, and I hope I'm not offending you, do you think you self-sabotage? Right? I'm asking that because you're saying some people will be looking and saying he's a fave, but why is he not putting himself out there? You're not doing enough interviews. You're not. But also, there's no denying that you're very talented.
Yeah.
Do you think sometimes, and I'm asking you this from a person that sometimes feels like I stay away from things. Yeah. Because I'd rather not do it if I'm not sure how it's gonna go.
Sure. I think, you know, now that I look at things as like I don't really like move like an artist anymore, you know?
Yeah.
Now I look at things like from a business like owner, and I'm like, nigga, you need to go out there. You need to make it shake. The most important, like I said to you, like you have a dope song, but how are you introducing it, you know? The most important thing is making sure that you are there for that song. And that's what Keenan was really good at. You know, when Keenan was like not feeling himself, whatever, he'd be too... But when he's mentally there, whatever, you can feel it.
You'll feel it,
He starts, you know, starts going at it, you know, starts going at it. So I think like that's what I've like literally like realized. I'm like, oh, those other songs, hey, that's why they didn't boom like that. Because I was like coming out, performing, and then going back and saying, yo, that's too much. What's next? That one, I can't make it, you know? Guys, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm a big advocate for mental health. But my guy, hey, just snap out of it. I don't know how, but just snap out of it. I come from I'm an old school cat. Like, you know, even in my closeness, I'll speak like from my dad's perspective, whatever. In my family, there was no such thing as mental health. You know, there was being lazy, there was being too comfortable, there was being selfish, there was being greedy. You know, there was no such thing as mental health where I come from. And I'm talking about even past generations. You know, there was alcoholism and all these things. So now when we group it and we say, maybe these are the results of, you know, mental health things, how are you feeling and whatever, is dope, something you should check, but you not going to change anything by just changing how you feel, right?
Okay.
You'll feel better. But when you feel better, it's time to move. You have to build, guys. You have to put brick by brick. And you can take all the time off you want. When you come back, those bricks
are still waiting. Yeah.
If you want this house, more bricks, please. More bricks. We'll let you. Now we won't shout at you. So you're wasting time because mental health, ne? But when you're done, your bricks are here. Chief.
Huh?
I would not gonna mental health you and build you and give you a house and start giving you things and making you nice and soft. Now we're doing everything for you. Now, oh shame, it's never gonna be that.
So, I saw a clip on social media of someone saying, we definitely need to all take care, something along these lines. I'm paraphrasing, that we need to take care of our mental health, but we also need to remember to live, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not to nyinyifatsa what tough, I've gone through my own and had been medicated. So I know what it's like to struggle with your mental health. But what you're saying is then you have to wake up and try.
For sure.
And move.
For sure.
And not stay in the dark space.
Look, there's so many variables, right? I can't really speak for everything. Like I have the answers. I can only speak from my experience.
Yeah.
I've dealt with my own mental health issues. I've been depressed.
Yeah.
But what I've found is that my depression is ngubeni. Like I can't wake up in the morning, I'm there the whole day, and 2 days have passed, 3 days have passed. I'm depressed. I'm depressed, right? Instead of, I'm scared to do this thing, but forget, let me do it. And I do it, 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 and I keep doing it, and I'm like, okay, what's next? Hey, is that one? I'm also scared of it, but let me do it, I do it, and I do it. That's how you get over it. I'm talking for myself, guys. I'm talking for myself. Right?
How just you've gotten past those dark moments is just trying.
Because the times where I've looked at it and I said, now I need a smaller one or whatever, it just keeps going downhill because my purpose is saying chase that thing that is scary. That's the one for you, the scary one. Not this one that's like doable, whatever. You won't be happy. Even like for me, like to do film alone never made me happy. To do music alone never made me happy. To do both is the only thing that's made me happy. It's the only thing.
And now you're doing both and some business in between as well.
For sure. I want to do more. I want to do more and more and more. Yo, I want to build things that last, bro. Straight up. Like, I want to work with people. Like, it's crazy. Like, I sit in my house and I'm like, hey, wonder, when I meet Martin Scorsese, I need to ask him. That's just my mentality, Usher, got the song for Usher. I've got songs for Usher. I've got songs for Kelani. I've got songs for Doja Cat.
That is so sick.
I've got songs, like 20% of my music that's on my computer. I've written it from a perspective of a female because I'm writing it for different girls, Yeah, I love songwriting.
And the importance of preparing yourself, because it's only a matter of time that you meet certain things. Clearly, the power of manifesting as well that you live by, and saying, I'm going to do this, and it's just waiting for them to meet me in a way that we can make this happen.
Yeah, that's me tapping into my younger person. Remember we were talking about, hey, you used to knock these things out the park. How did you do it? That's literally what I'm doing right now. I'm like, okay, it's crazy. Let's do it.
The bravery of a young Yanga. I love that. I really dig that. There's a song that you released, One of One.
Yes.
How important was it for you to pen that song? You speak obviously of AKA, how people see him, but more really how you experience him. As a person. Tell me about that song, how it came about.
I think it was really maybe a month or two after it passed. And I kind of felt like, I should have something to say, but I didn't, And so sometimes in order to get something out of me, I just write music and listen back and then figure out, oh, this is how I feel about this and that, etc. So I was it was in a period where a lot of people were just looking at Keenan's friends, why are you guys so quiet? You guys are behind this and that. And it was just adding so much pain to those of us who were just privy to what was going on behind closed doors. And I understand people were saying that because they're not privy to everything. So, you lose your mind sometimes when you can't see for a fact what's going on. And you get ideas in your head and become real and you become angry and you express it, but it really made it tough. And that's why I wrote what I wrote because, first of all, I know Keenan would have probably done the same thing, you know. But I've had that song since maybe March. And I just never felt like I could release it. I just felt like it's a nice, dope song, but it's just, you know, like even now the energy is like so sad, you know. And how I want to remember Keenan is like, I want to make hit songs, dog. I want to make #1 records. I want to smash the charts. Like that's what I know him as.
You
know?
saw him do it.
For sure, for sure. That's how Keenan overcame everything, dog, with a #1 smash hit single. That's how every time things were down or things weren't going his way, whether he's not in a relationship, broken up, what, someone betrayed him in business, whatever, that man would just make a smash record for the country to celebrate and enjoy and thrive, and he'd bring everybody back up with that smash record. So that's how I actually want to remember him. And that's probably why I didn't release the song myself. I gave it to the Megacy, and they're like, all right, thanks, we're dropping it. I'm like, shout
really
out.
Did it.
For sure.
But you can feel the emotion in the song.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's so much you can still talk about, but I definitely need to touch on this. You worked with someone that was pretty much like an icon for you growing up. And I remember Beck announcing this song when I was still at Metro FM. And it's the day the earthquake happened.
Really?
And I remember, I'll play you the clip, but I remember what I was saying was, literally as the song was ending, I was like, imagine looking up to someone all your life and then it goes.
I think I've seen that clip.
And then I'm like, what was that, right? And then I'm like, okay, you look up to this person and it goes, but I'm like, I can't finish my thoughts because of this earthquake and the computer's going crazy. But that is the conversation around working with Dr. Khumalo.
For sure. Yeah. Dream come true.
Working on the documentary, directing, writing a song that you dedicate to this person that you've loved and you've watched all your life, and you get that close to experiencing their real life through the documentary, and being able to write a song about this person and immortalizing them in turn. How was that? I'm
not gonna lie, I was so starstruck from beginning to end. From beginning to end. You know what? When I did the song or did the video, I actually hoped that I'd be less starstruck. I was.
Yanga was there, like, this is for me.
Yo. Like, he's like, you know, Mdomdala, you know? Reminds me of my dad so much, like just how he carries himself and just focused on his own thing, whatever. But that's whatever. But great person, man. Great person. And shout out to Rich Mahog also, who got me onto the documentary. And also held my hand through those Dr. Khumalo conversations. They're very close and they're very cool. So they really made things really easy, like on set, you know? But an amazing, amazing icon, legend. His story is like infinite. Yeah. You know? I was just, and you know, I actually made the song like for the documentary. Yes. You know, and I'm just, you know, glad at how it came out. And I'm glad that I was able to do it. Like, it's there now. It's done. Like, it's there. He's in the video, you know.
You did that.
We're nice. We got it, you know. I know my dad is out there saying, aye, my boy.
He's walking
For
around
sure.
like, For sure.
For sure.
Do you still have other stories you want to tell? What are some of the stories? And not just Queenstown stories, because I know that those you really want to tell. Are there things that you want to see yourself more in or doing more of in your role as a documenter and director?
You look, in the film space, I think I have ideas that, like I told you, I'm going to a meeting for the movie that I'm doing. It's a very dope concept that I just came up with. So in the film space, I'm, you know, picking the ones I direct, but I'm creating a lot of concepts, etc. I'm very like heavy into like conceptually with brands on social media, coming up with I love that. Since I was a kid, I've always loved making adverts. You know, I've never really enjoyed like the ad space, the ad scene. You know, also like doesn't have a great. It's like music. It's never great. But I really enjoy like creating something and shooting it, and then people like connecting with it, you know. And I love how the ideas come to me. It's almost like they fall from the sky, you know? And to take something, and it's a quick, like...
Turnaround.
Yes.
Yeah.
Today, thought of it.
You just get it.
Next Friday, I shoot that.
Yeah.
Next week, I release
Yeah.
Sign me up, you know? On to the next one.
It's going to be so exciting.
I love this new industry. I love it, bro.
I think it's going to be so interesting to see. I think when one listens to your story of how creative you've always been and how you love capturing moments and all of this marrying with music, it almost sounds like you were born to be like a content creator. Like,
right?
Right.
It's so weird because I totally suck at content creation.
No, but not in a social media sense, but like your purpose
the
is
actual description,
content,
100%. Yeah,
you know, in
sure,
real time as it happens.
I feel you,
and showing it to people in a perspective that maybe they were not expecting. And I think you're very good at that. And that's why I think you're going to have a very long, bright future in marrying music and film and documentaries and brands. And
I love brands.
Okay, brands. Yanga loves you.
I love them. Like, just tell me what you're about and I'll show you what you mean to people. I'll show you what you mean to people.
I think I agree with you and I say I like what this new industry is becoming. But Yanga growing up in Queenstown, parents now watching this or, you know, getting a clip of what's happening here and they see you on this podcast, what would you like them to know? Your parents.
I'd like my mom to know that, let me start with my dad.
Yeah.
I had a very difficult relationship with my dad.
Yeah.
You know, I pride myself in the fact that I grew up in a 2-parent household until my dad passed.
Yeah.
But I had a very difficult relationship with him. I think, you know, for my mental health.
Yeah.
My brother was always the star of the show.
Yeah.
You know, firstborn, you know, he experienced everything. His relationship with my dad was like watertight. And I think I was always just jealous of it, you know? And
a lot of people don't get to say that, actually.
yeah, I was jealous of it. You know, I remember specific stories. I think I've told the story before. Like, you know, there was a point when we were going to grade 1 and my dad was teaching my brother how to tie his tie. He was messing up. I think I'm behind there. I'm learning.
Like, I get it.
I'm done. But I'm quiet. Because you know why? I can't wait until it's my turn next year where this guy calls me into the room and I act like I don't know what I'm doing and I get it, you know? And the next year came and that nigga said, yo, go tell your brother to teach you. I'm like, damn, I even already know. But so in my head, like that was like the experiences that I had and the memories that I had of my dad, right? This is what I want to thank my mother for. My mom, I had this conversation with her now in my adulthood. And she's just like, please forgive us both. We were very young. We were raising children. It was our first time. We had no idea what we were doing, but we were trying our best and we loved you guys equally.
Regardless, yeah.
You know? I think now, I don't have a kid right now, but I understand the concept of loving children the same, like equal amounts, but maybe in different ways because they're different human beings.
They're different humans.
They need different types of attention and stuff. And there's a lot of Black parents right now who are doing a phenomenal job raising kids in a way that we haven't seen before. You know, I can't wait to be a part of that. And I'd actually just tell my mom and my dad that watch the space. You know, thank you. They've raised someone that is capable of transferring the love that they gave me to the next generation in a responsible way and without like any bad, like holding anything bad around it, whatever. What they tried to do, they managed to do with me. That's what I wanted them to know.
I think one of the biggest things that has come from this season of Moments with Mantsoe, right, is a lot of young people saying, I'm getting to a point where I'm kind of forgiving my parents for their mistakes because they were also just young. I always say that my parents were 22 and they had me. I can't even imagine.
Bro.
I can't even imagine a 22 trying to raise a human.
Bro.
And as you grow, also with some therapy, you kind of understand that they're human. Also, they're parents for the first time. They will make mistakes.
For sure.
And a lot of the times, there's certain things that matter to our parents.
For sure.
Toto seeing you and is not really the priority.
For
the
sure.
school, there's food, there's all these other things that they
And
have
by
to
the
take
time
care
they're
of.
done paying for that, they have this
There's
dank
no
face
time.
walking in their crib like, don't you start, nigga.
With that stupid tie.
I just parted with like 100,000. Your ass is still failing out here. And you know, that's the crazy part. We don't even take responsibility for how bad as kids we were. But we want to remember how bad our parents were. Yabo? But we don't want to take responsibility. Singafuna ulala, singenze homework, singabuya endlini, sibuya late. How difficult we made it for them to. We don't want to take any responsibility for that.
Yanga. We'll come to Yanga, right? Let's speak to, I think, AKA.
Yeah.
And someone that has been a part of your career, especially in front of the camera. We all saw you on the mic. And that I can't even imagine what it's like to have lost him, who was not just a friend and a colleague, but really a brother to you. If you could speak to him right now, what would you say?
Yo, thank you, bro. This guy, I'm telling you, like I live on a daily basis. Sometimes some things happen around me and with me, and I'm like, hey, Forbes is fighting. Yeah. You know, opportunities that I'm really like getting. Like, you know, the AKA loss for me was twofold. It hit me literally 2 days after I'd come back from burying my cousin, who I had nurtured the arts with. We grew up together. When you say, my brother was never into the arts, he was a sports guy. That's how I learned to play sports, because it was his thing. My cousin was an arts guy. We used to sing all day. We used to act all day. We used to run around the house.
That best friend cousin.
To dress, yo.
Yeah, that you can't wait to see on the holidays. Yeah.
I wanna me and him. We did this thing fully, you know? So I would come back from his funeral, and then 2 days later, you know, like everyone's like hovering around me, just checking up, okay, this, that, you know? And in the midst of that, like everyone worried about me, this happens. Like I couldn't even like, it didn't even register for a long time. But now when, you know, if I speak to Keenan, I know he's up there, and I know my cousin, you know, very outspoken, gay guy. So he's not hesitating to say, hey, Mr. Super Mega. You know, Yanga's my cousin, yes. Yes, you know, for sure. I know that's what's happening up there, you know, and I just want to say thank you, man, because there's things that I felt like I had to do, and now I'm only doing things I want to do, literally. And I learned that from him. You know, Keenan gave me this thing, and I have hesitated to use it for so long. I was talking about it the other day. He was the first person to give me this thing, and it's the most important, powerful tool that anybody could ever have. It's free of charge. It is saying no. Yabo? There's so much power. You get rewarded for saying no. Especially no to money. The minute you say no, you get rewarded. Stock, now you're sitting at a different level. Say yes. Say no. How? You said no. Stock, we underestimate how powerful that thing is. Guys, say no more often. Especially if it doesn't sit well with you. Forget the money. You can do things for free, bro. That sit well with you. I've seen Keenan do things for nothing, bro. I've seen him do them for a lot of money. I've seen him walk away from mega money.
Yeah.
Mega money. Even in the relationship that I'm in right now, the person I'm with, I walk away from crazy money. I say, yo, walk away from that one to something bigger. It happens. Just need to try it, bro. You know.
To Yanga as we go, because you've got a business meeting that you need to get to. Yanga growing up in the shadow of, you know, his brother, finding his feet, introverted child.
Yanga, nothing. You did it, my nigga. Honestly, swear to God, you did it. You thought about it. You imagined it. You didn't let anyone tell you couldn't do it. And even if they did, you showed them every time. There's times you forgot, right? But what I like about you is that anytime you forgot, you learned something, you know, in the process. And you're a superstar, bro. Like, you've been a superstar. And yeah, just be kinder to yourself. That's it.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
It was nice chatting like this.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Season 2, I'm coming too.
Come on, come through, ladies and gents. Yanga Chief, and please say the chief. Episode 11 done and dusted just like that. Woo! There was so much still that we could have spoken about, but I think season 2 will be perfect. You'll also be at a different place
For sure.
as well, and documenting more things and films and business.
You guys
and
gotta come
all
out to
that.
LA and shoot me in LA.
Come
baby.
on, we'll be coming through to LA to shoot you there. My name is Mantsoe. Episode 12 is coming soon. Thank you so much for joining me. Show love on the comments. Bye-bye.
Awesome.
Donker! That was
That's
like one of the
dope,
longest
man.
ones.